Hello and welcome, friends. Today we are going to discuss ethics, business ethics in fact. So we have to basically understand what do we mean by ethical conduct in business. So first of all, let us understand what ethics are. You can have a look here at this particular picture. What is right, what is wrong, what is moral, what is immoral, what is fair, what is unfair. So this decision is basically considered to be ethics. So how do you distinguish between what is right, what is wrong, what is fair, what is unfair, what is the correct course of action, what is not appropriate, what is proper, what is improper. So this is that standard that you apply to decide which particular conduct is okay and which conduct is not okay. So deciding what is right, what is wrong is basically ethics, right? Now please understand, ethical standards may also depend on the community that you belong to, or may also depend on the society that you are coming from, the culture that you are coming from. For example, here in India there is this practice of the parents staying with their children. Once the parents have grown old, they stay with their children, and it is considered to be absolutely okay. However, if you go to Western countries, specifically America, you would find that there, even if your parents have grown old and you are staying away from them, though you are capable of staying with them, but even then you are having a separate house, even that is not considered unethical there. So what is right, what is wrong also depends on the society and the culture that you are coming from, right? For example, helping out a person who has been hit by a vehicle while crossing the road. Now, it may be considered ethical, it may be considered unethical. Not helping out a person who has been hit by a particular vehicle while crossing the road, not helping out this person may be considered ethical, may be considered okay in some cultures, while in other cultures may be considered unethical. So many ethical standards may depend on your cultural background and the society that you are coming from also, right? So let us understand now what we mean by business ethics. Now when you are trying to distinguish between right and wrong in your daily life, if you try to distinguish between right and wrong as far as your business conduct is concerned, now this becomes business ethics. Applying general principles and standards to general principles of ethics and standards, general ethical principles and standards, general principles of ethics to your business behavior. This is what business ethics all about. So you are applying the same standard as you are applying in your daily life to find out which particular business practice of mine or my organization's is appropriate, which one is inappropriate, which is good, which is bad. Here if you go to some of the business firms, specifically these hotels which are generally set up around the river banks in so many areas. If you talk about Uttarakhand also, so many hotels have come up along the river banks, and what do? They simply find it ethical to dump their waste into the river, and because of which there's a lot of pollution in our rivers here in India. Now this is considered absolutely ethical, right? And they would find it okay. This is illegal, that is perfectly fine, but they would also consider it to be ethical, and that is why they keep on doing this. However, in some places this is just not acceptable and they don't find it ethical. If you go to the Western societies, for example, you would find that the rivers are cleaner there, because dumping their waste into the river or polluting some natural resource is not considered to be ethical there. Polluting the resource is illegal there also, illegal in our country also, but there it is not considered ethical, and that is why people tend not to do that. Here it is considered ethical, or let's say it is not considered unethical, and that is why people tend to pollute, people tend to dump their waste in the river, right? For example, wasting water in our homes, we may not consider it to be unethical because we have got a lot of water. However, there are societies where they simply don't waste water. This is considered absolutely ethical because they deem water to be a sacred thing. Just like we here in India, cutting down trees may be considered unethical in some societies. Why? Or maybe hunting down animals is considered unethical in some societies because they worship those animals and trees. So the sense of ethics would also come from your culture, and when you apply this sense of what is right, what is wrong, immoral, moral to your business practices, now this becomes business ethics, right? Now what do we mean by unethical business practices? We'll take up some examples of some common unethical business practices. Misleading product information, and see the example that I've taken. It is alleged that TikTok does not inform the user about what all data it extracts from the user's mobile phone, and it is being alleged that TikTok basically tries to steal user information without user knowing about it. So this is an example of misleading product information, where the firm is trying to mislead the customers into believing that probably the product has these features while the product actually does not have these features, or maybe trying to exaggerate the benefits of the products, trying to exaggerate the potency of the product, the quality of the product. So this is an example of misleading product information, and I hope you have been seeing so many ads which actually mislead the customer into buying a product by exaggerating the benefits that the product has. So this is an example of misleading product information. Then defaming competition. Defaming competition, defaming your rivals, saying something which is not true to hamper their image, to hamper their goodwill in the market, to hamper their favorable perception among customers in the market. Now this is defaming competition, right? And why do you do this? So that the image of the rival company suffers, and when the rival company suffers, it will be to your benefit because you would be able to sell more of your products in the market. Trademark infringement, violation of trademarks. Trademarks are intellectual property which companies have. They may be brand names, they may be logos which companies have, and if you are violating those, if you are making use of those trademarks to sell your product without the permission of that particular firm to which that particular trademark belongs, this is an example of trademark infringement. You have seen a KFC here in Pithoragarh also. Now in a way that is a trademark infringement because KFC is a trademark for the Kentucky Fried Chicken, so you cannot use the same brand name without the express permission of Kentucky Fried Chicken. But a restaurant here in India, here in Pithoragarh is doing that, here in Uttarakhand is doing that. So that is an example of violating some other firm's trademark, some other firm's brand name without that particular firm's express consent, or without that particular firm's infringement. Now this is slightly the case of an infringement. Basically this particular product is trying to pass off as fair and lovely. This is exactly not trademark infringement in the sense that the trademark that they're using is very different. This is Fair My Love, while the actual trademark is Fair Lovely. But the idea is that, and have a look at the picture, very similar. What are they trying to do actually? They are trying to pass off as Fair and Lovely so that the customers may purchase them thinking of them to be same as Fair and Lovely. So this is what they are trying to do, and this particular company is trying to do this so that it may benefit from the brand name and brand recognition that Fair and Lovely has. It may benefit from the loyal customers that Fair and Lovely has. It may be able to sell to them. And there are so many people in India who are not aware of these things, who are not literate enough, who are not educated enough. They may buy this product rather than, when they actually have gone to buy this particular product, Fair and Lovely, they may end up buying Fair My Love because they're not aware. And this is what the company is trying to exploit. This is what this particular company is trying to exploit. Is this understood? Now this is an example of coming up with spurious products, passing off your product as some other product which is very well known. So you are basically trying to benefit from the goodwill of some other product, from the brand loyalty gained by some other product. So here we are trying to benefit from the brand loyalty gained by Fair and Lovely. So you are trying to pass off your product as Fair and Lovely, while your product is very, very different as Fair My Love. You might have come across these kind of examples. For example, you might have come up this, you might have seen so many products which are actually lookalikes of more prominent products. For example, Nokai, Nokai is a brand which they try to pass it on, which they try to sell basically to customers. Actually, they try to pass it off as Nokia, though they are not Nokia, they are Nokai, right? So you would have seen so many such examples. These kind of products are called spurious products, and in fact there's a big market for spurious products also, and they impact the original products also. So now this is something which is illegal as well as unethical. Now, theft of trade secrets. Now, what do we mean by trade secrets? For example, if you look at Coca-Cola has got a trade secret, which is their syrup which they use to produce the non-alcoholic carbonated beverage that they produce, like Coca-Cola. So the syrup is their trade secret, and they don't share this trade secret with any firm. Even if there is a bottling plant here, let's say somewhere in UP, so they would be sending their syrup from America, and this bottling plant would only mix up other ingredients here with that particular syrup. So this is a closely guarded trade secret of Coca-Cola. Now, if somebody steals that, this can be an example of unethical business practices. Many Chinese firms have been alleged to have stolen trade secrets of their rival firms in Western Europe and America. So again, this is an example of unethical business practice. Mistreating employees, not treating the employees well. In the recent COVID-19 crisis, so many employees lost their jobs. Though there was express guideline by the government that no company should fire its employees, or the companies should pay their employees on time, still many employees were asked to leave by their employers. Now, this was an example of mistreatment of employees. In fact, some of them were not even paid their dues, and you would have probably read about these kind of news in the newspapers as well. So this is an example of mistreating employees. Here we are talking about what happened to Jet Airways employees, and you know that Jet Airways had to close down around some years back because of the continued losses. And when they started incurring losses, what did they do? They stopped paying their employees on time. This was an instance of mistreatment of employees. Here the employees are actually protesting against delayed payment of wages and salaries. So this is an example of mistreatment of employees. Then manipulating the accounts. Why are you trying to manipulate the accounts? The accounts are manipulated to exaggerate the performance, to show the company's financial position in a better light than what the reality is. So this is an example of, this is the reason why companies manipulate accounts. There are examples like Satyam, who manipulated their accounts to show profits while they were incurring losses. Why do they do this? So that there is a perception created that the company is doing well, and the shareholders of that particular firm remain invested in that particular company. They don't sell away the shares of that particular company. So this is why many companies manipulate their accounts, right? So this again is an unethical business practice. And then bribery. Many times, specifically in India, so many companies bribe their way to obtain business, to bag an order. Now this particular example I have taken up. Indian armed forces required helicopters, and this was a particular company which has now been alleged to have tried to influence the decision makers in Indian government here, so that they can bag the order for the supply of helicopters. Now have a look at this particular news item. Now the court is still to decide this particular case, and that is why I have taken up a snapshot of the news item that emerged in newspapers, right? Now have a look at what is being said here. The Enforcement Directorate has alleged high-level political lobbying to influence the UP government's finance minister and his advisors. So political lobbying, and basically trying to bribe the government's finance minister and their advisors, the bureaucrats, so that they may be able to sell their product to the government, so they may be able to back the government's order. So that was the whole objective behind bribing. So bribing again is considered to be unethical business practice. Fine. So you can have a detailed look at this particular. And this particular individual was accused to have actually bribed on behalf of this particular firm, Augusta Westland. Right. So with this, we are ending this particular discussion on unethical business practices. In the next session, we'll move on to the reasons and what impact does unethical business practice may have on the firm. And then we would look at some examples from the Indian business world. So this would be the agenda in our next discussion. In the meanwhile, you can keep looking for such news items on your own, wherein you can where you get to know about the unethical business practices that various companies may indulge in. Fine. So that's all for the day. Thank you.